Have you ever felt a chill watching Wyatt Earp's quiet determination, or paused at the haunting stillness behind Doc Holliday's sly smile in Tombstone, 1993? Back then, the dust, the stares, and the silence between gunshots told stories we never forgot, but more than 30 years have passed. And if you wandered back into that sun-scorched town today, would you still recognize them? The lawmen, the outlaws, the women who stayed strong while the bullets flew. Who still walks among us, quietly aging with grace? Who stepped away from the spotlight? And who left this world but not our hearts? This is more than a tribute, it's a journey. And before it ends, it might just reveal something you didn't expect. Wyatt Earp, played by Kurt Russell. The heart of Tombstone, 1993, beats through Wyatt Earp, a man torn between peace and duty. Kurt Russell portrayed him not as a flawless hero, but as someone constantly wrestling with his own convictions, tired of violence, yet bound to confront it for the sake of justice. That complexity made Wyatt more human and more powerful. Russell's performance was sharp and deeply felt. At 42 years old during the film's release, he gave the character both gravitas and quiet vulnerability. He didn't just act strong, he showed what it costs to stay strong in a broken world. Russell's journey didn't start in westerns. As a former Disney child actor, he grew into one of Hollywood's most reliable stars, balancing action hits with character-driven roles. Even decades later, his name carries weight, thanks to a career built not on flash, but on consistency and passion. In Tombstone, he gave Wyatt Earp a soul and made sure that, even surrounded by chaos, integrity still had a voice. Doc Holliday, played by Val Kilmer. Few roles in cinema strike as deeply as Doc Holliday in Tombstone, 1993. For Val Kilmer, it wasn't just a performance, it was transformation. Doc was a man living on borrowed time, dying from tuberculosis, yet sharper in wit and quicker on the draw than anyone around him. His fierce loyalty to Wyatt Earp gave him purpose, even as his body failed. At just 34 years old, Kilmer brought chilling nuance to the role. His dry humor, hollowed eyes, and calm defiance turned Doc into more than a gunslinger. He became a tragic legend. Every line felt final, every smirk carried sadness. Kilmer's life off-screen took a dramatic turn years later when he was diagnosed with throat cancer. A tracheostomy changed his voice, but not his spirit. In Top Gun: Maverick, 2022, he made a brief yet unforgettable return, reminding everyone of the power behind his presence. Doc Holliday may have been his role, but Val Kilmer's resilience is his legacy. Witty, wounded, and unwavering, just like the character that made him timeless. Virgil Earp, played by Sam Elliott. Among the many memorable characters in Tombstone, 1993, Virgil Earp stands out as the quiet strength behind the action. Played by the ever-gravel-voiced Sam Elliott, Virgil was not the loudest in the room, but you listened when he spoke. A man of few words and firm beliefs, he carried justice not in grand speeches, but in how he walked into danger without hesitation. Elliott didn't need to overact. His stillness said it all. His portrayal of Virgil brought a grounded human element to the Earp brothers' crusade for justice. At 49 years old during filming, Elliott looked and felt like a man who had lived through hard choices and still chose to stand tall. Born on September 9, 1944, Sam Elliott is now 80 years old. Over 5 decades, he's remained a steadfast figure in Hollywood, never chasing fame, just delivering truth in every role. From Roadhouse to 1883, his presence elevates every scene. And in Tombstone, he reminded us that not all heroes ride in shouting. Some just show up, quietly ready to do what's right. Morgan Earp, played by Bill Paxton. Of all the Earp brothers, Morgan was the heart, the warmth between cold stares and drawn guns. In Tombstone, 1993, Bill Paxton gave Morgan a gentle energy, a flicker of hope in a violent world. He wasn't hardened by years of law-keeping. He still believed in good, still smiled easily, still admired his older brothers, especially Wyatt. At 38 years old, Paxton brought a rare softness to the Western genre. His Morgan wasn't weak, he was human. That made his fate not just sad, but deeply unfair. When Morgan was gunned down in an ambush, audiences didn't just lose a character, they lost the soul of the family. Off-screen, Bill Paxton built a career full of quiet impact. From Apollo 13 to Twister, he carried a likability that made every role feel personal. A gifted actor, director, and storyteller, he passed away in 2017 at 61 from heart surgery complications. Yet even now his spirit lingers, especially in Morgan Earp. Not loud, not flashy, but unforgettable. Because sometimes it's the quiet ones who leave the deepest mark. Josephine Marcus, played by Dana Delany. In the rough-edged world of Tombstone, 1993, Josephine Marcus brought something different, softness with steel underneath. Played by Dana Delany, she was more than Wyatt Earp's companion. She was a force of quiet resistance. Josephine stood tall in a world dominated by violence, carrying herself with elegance and stubborn independence. At 38 years old during the film's release, Delany gave Josephine complexity rarely afforded to female characters in westerns. Her performance balanced fragility and fire, making Josephine not just a love interest, but a woman of agency and conviction. She wasn't fighting with guns, she was fighting to be seen. Dana Delany, now 68, remains a respected figure in both film and television. From her Emmy-winning role in China Beach to Desperate Housewives, and voicing Lois Lane in Superman, the animated series, she's consistently portrayed women with strength, wit, and soul. In recent years, Delany has taken on more introspective roles, exploring aging and identity on screen. But in Tombstone, she carved out a moment of feminine power, one that still lingers amid the dust and gunfire. Johnny Ringo, played by Michael Biehn, cold, calculated, dangerous. That's Johnny Ringo, a man whose silence was more terrifying than any drawn gun. In Tombstone, 1993, Michael Biehn stepped into the shadows to bring this volatile outlaw to life. Intelligent, unpredictable, and deadly, Ringo wasn't chaos, he was precision. At just 37 years old when the film premiered, Biehn delivered a masterclass in restraint. He didn't overact, he didn't need to. A glance, a pause, the tightness in his jaw. Each moment built tension like a loaded gun waiting to go off. Ringo wasn't a loud villain, he was the one you feared in silence. Best known for his roles in The Terminator, Aliens, and The Abyss, Michael Biehn has long been a favorite of director James Cameron. Now 68, he continues working in indie films, often portraying brooding, layered characters far from the Hollywood spotlight. As Johnny Ringo, Biehn didn't just play a villain, he embodied the kind of danger that leaves no warning, and that quiet menace still echoes decades later. Clanton, played by Stephen Lang. Some villains make you fear them, others make you uneasy. Clanton, as portrayed by Stephen Lang, did both, and more. In Tombstone, 1993, Ike wasn't the cold strategist or the fearless gunman. He was chaos in human form, driven by resentment, greed, and a deep, gnawing fear. Lang didn't just act the role, he exposed it. Beneath Ike's loud threats was a man cracking under pressure, whose cowardice made him dangerous in the most unpredictable ways. At 41 years old when the film premiered, Lang found the perfect balance between menace and misery, creating a character you couldn't quite hate, but never trusted. Born on July 11, 1952, Stephen Lang is now 72 years old. His career spans decades, from Shakespearean stage work to blockbusters like Avatar. Whether portraying villains or complex anti-heroes, he brings an intensity that demands your attention. As like Clanton, he reminded us, not all threats come from strength, some come from weakness too unstable to control. Curly Bill Brocious, played by Powers Boothe. He smiled before the killing, laughed in the face of justice, and ruled the screen with chaos and charm. As Curly Bill Brocious, Powers Boothe delivered a performance that redefined what it meant to be a Western villain. Not just violent, but magnetic, Boothe made Curly Bill unpredictable, strangely charismatic, and impossible to ignore. At 45 years old when Tombstone, 1993, was released, Boothe embodied the kind of antagonist who doesn't shout to be feared. He smiles, and that's enough. His calm menace elevated every scene he appeared in, becoming a chilling counterweight to Wyatt Earp's stoic resolve. Born on June 1, 1948, Powers Boothe passed away on May 14, 2017, at the age of 68. His deep, commanding voice and screen presence made him a favorite in both film and television, from Deadwood to 24. In a world full of gunfighters, Boothe gave us something rarer, a villain we were afraid of, yet couldn't take our eyes off. Frank Stillwell, played by Thomas Arana. In the violent chessboard of Tombstone, 1993, Frank Stillwell was one of the darkest pieces, ruthless, loyal, and utterly unrepentant. Played by Thomas Arana, Stillwell was a man who stood by the cowboys with unwavering brutality, fueling every bloody encounter with Wyatt Earp and his brothers. His eventual death at Wyatt's hands wasn't just revenge. It was a reminder that in the lawless West, justice came fast, cold, and without trial. Arana, at 38 years old during the film's release, brought a quiet menace to the screen. He didn't need speeches, his presence alone raised the stakes. Born on April 3, 1955, Thomas Arana is now 69 years old. Beyond Hollywood, he has earned acclaim in European cinema and theater, adapting seamlessly across languages and genres. His ability to inhabit both villains and complex figures has made him a respected name in international acting circles. As Stillwell, Arana gave us a villain who didn't seek sympathy, only dominance. And in doing so, he helped carve the unflinching tone that made Tombstone unforgettable. Johnny Tyler, played by Billy Bob Thornton. In Tombstone, 1993, Johnny Tyler storms into the screen as an arrogant gambler running the Oriental Saloon, loud, rude, and ready to pick a fight. But his swagger crumbles the moment Wyatt Earp arrives, removing him from the saloon without a single punch or bullet. That quiet humiliation became one of the film's most iconic early scenes. Billy Bob Thornton, at 38 years old when the film premiered, turned this brief role into something unforgettable. He captured Tyler's false bravado and insecurity with sharp timing and raw energy, proving that even a few minutes on screen can define a character when played right. Before he became a household name, Thornton was already known for his storytelling instincts, writing, directing, and performing music. His band, the Boxmasters, reflects the same gritty charm found in many of his roles. Today, he's seen as a creative force in and out of Hollywood. With Johnny Tyler, Thornton didn't just play a hot-headed gambler. He carved out a moment so sharp, so specific, that audiences still remember it, long after the gunfights ended. Sheriff John Behan, played by John Tenney. In Tombstone, 1993, Sheriff John Behan doesn't pull a gun, but his betrayal cuts just as deep. Played by John Tenney, Behan is the polished face of corruption, a lawman who plays politics instead of protecting justice. He sides with the cowboys not because he believes in them, but because it benefits him. His cowardice is quiet, and that makes it all the more dangerous. At just 32 years old, Tenney brought nuance to a role that could have been forgettable. With subtle shifts in expression, he showed how power can be abused behind a badge. A graduate of Vassar College and trained at Juilliard, Tenney had already honed his dramatic chops on stage before joining film and TV. Now 63, he's best known for his role as Agent Fritz Howard in The Closer and Major Crimes, with additional credits in Scandal, Green Lantern, and The Stepfather. Off-screen, he's a father and husband, having once been married to actress Terry Hatcher. As Biehn, Tenney proved that not all villains sneer. Some smile, shake your hand, and let the outlaws ride free. Billy Breckenridge, played by Jason Priestley. Amid the chaos of Tombstone, 1993, Billy Breckenridge feels like a lost soul, a young deputy caught between duty and quiet sympathy for the outlaws. Played by Jason Priestley, Billy isn't heroic nor entirely complicit. He's conflicted, idealistic, and deeply human, a mirror to the moral confusion surrounding him. At just 24 years old, Priestley brought a kind of innocence that felt rare in the gritty world of the Wild West. His Billy wasn't a fighter, he was an observer, and that gentle presence, even in a supporting role, added emotional nuance to the film's landscape of violence and revenge. Best known for his breakout role in Beverly Hills, 90210, Jason Priestley went on to become a respected director and producer. Now 55, he continues to thrive in television, both in front of and behind the camera, with credits ranging from Private Eyes to Call Me Fitz. In Tombstone, his character didn't change the course of history, but he reminded us that not everyone in the West drew a gun. Some stood in silence, unsure of which side to call home. Tom McLaury, played by John Filbin. In Tombstone, 1993, Tom McLaury is not a loud character, but his presence lingers. A loyal member of the Cowboys gang, Tom isn't cruel, just caught in the wrong storm. Played by John Filbin, McLaury becomes a quiet tragedy, a man swept up in conflict far bigger than himself. At 34 years old, Filbin brought emotional weight to Tom without overstatement. His performance highlighted a man torn between loyalty and fear, someone whose death wasn't heroic, but heartbreakingly human. Off-screen, John Filbin has carved a unique path in Hollywood. Born in California and trained in theater, he rose to fame with cult classics like Children of the Corn and Point Break, where he blended acting with his real-life passion for surfing. Beyond acting, he's taught surfing to actors in Blue Crush and continues to work in indie cinema. As Tom McLaury, Filbin reminded us, not every casualty of the Wild West was a villain. Some were simply in the wrong place, at the wrong time, with no way out. Kate, played by Joanna Pacula. In Tombstone, 1993, the Wild West wasn't just about men with guns, it was also about the women who dared to love them. Kate, portrayed by Joanna Pacula, was one such woman, fiery, fiercely intelligent, and deeply loyal to Doc Holliday. She wasn't just his companion, she was his match, his reflection in a broken mirror. At 35 years old, Pacula brought raw vulnerability to Kate, but never weakness. Their tumultuous relationship exposed the emotional undercurrent of a world obsessed with violence and honor. And in every scene she shared with Doc, you could feel the storm just beneath the surface. Born in Poland, Pacula trained at the Warsaw Dramatic Theater before moving to the U.S. in 1982, escaping martial law. Her breakout in Gorky Park earned her a Golden Globe nomination and opened doors to both Hollywood and European cinema. Now 68, she remains an icon of intensity, having appeared in Virus, Escape from Sobibor, and shows like Monk and Bones. As Kate, she proved that even in a land ruled by gunslingers, the strongest force could come from a woman who refused to be tamed. Allie Earp, played by Paula Malcomson. In the harsh world of Tombstone, 1993, where gunfire often drowned out voices, Allie Earp was the quiet strength standing just outside the chaos. Played by Paula Malcomson, Allie isn't a woman of grand speeches. She's a woman of presence, of loyalty, of silent resilience. As Virgil Earp's wife, she supported not only her husband but the entire Earp family through their darkest moments. At 31 years old, Malcomson brought a grounded tenderness to the role, making Allie feel real, not just as a supportive spouse, but as a woman with her own quiet courage. In every glance, there was a lifetime of worry, love, and unspoken strength. Born in Belfast, Northern Ireland, Malcomson later gained acclaim for her raw performances in Deadwood, Sons of Anarchy, and Ray Donovan. She also portrayed Katniss Everdeen's mother in the Hunger Games series, another quiet figure hiding immense emotional depth. As Allie Earp, Paula Malcomson didn't just fill space, she filled the silence with strength. Because in every great Western, someone has to hold the home together while the bullets fly. Thank you for watching my video. There are many other interesting things in the next videos. Please look forward to it. Thank you and goodbye.